Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope that your Tuesday is going well. I hope that you all had spectacular Memorial Day weekends. Loaded show, lots of absurdity that happened, not surprisingly, over Memorial Day weekend. I am down at the beach still. As soon as I finish this show, I will roll over to the Sandestin Hilton where the SEC spring meetings are going on. Much to talk about today. We begin, as always, Outkick the Show, presented by Oddshark. Go to Oddshark for all your gambling and informational-related needs. And we start with the wildest, craziest story of the day, and that is the Nashville Predators fan who threw a catfish on the ice, being charged with 3 criminal offenses in the state of Pennsylvania. I got to tell you this right off the jump. I think that the Pittsburgh DA, who okayed charges in this case, should have a catfish slapped across his face live on Periscope and Facebook. And honestly, it should be done by me. This is one of the dumbest situations I have ever heard of. One of the most absurd overreaches of criminal prosecution that I can ever remember seeing. This is nothing but a funny trend. I can understand why you might be upset about a catfish getting thrown on the ice in terms of the amount of time that it takes to clean it off the ice. I can understand why you might be upset about the catfish going on the ice with the Preds down 3-0. But it's an unbelievable story that there's a prosecution coming in this case. And by the way, I pulled up the charges because I couldn't believe this was real when I saw the report start to go out. And I've actually got the charges in front of me right now. And by the way, the guy went on local Nashville show, Midday 180, with my buddy Chad Withrow, Jonathan Hutton, and Paul Kaharski. And he's going to come on with us tomorrow morning. So if you are intrigued to know the story of the Catfish Man, we're going to take him national at 6:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. He will be on live with us. That's 5:30 Central Time in the morning, early in the day. But I have offered my legal services to him for free. I continue that offer, but I've got the reports that are going here and the guy's name. And he's been charged, and this is really the truth. He's been charged with possessing instruments of crime, criminal instruments. A catfish is a criminal instrument, evidently. With disrupting meetings, I guess a game counts as a meeting, and also with disorderly conduct. These are ridiculous situations. I don't know what the overall penalty is going to be, but again, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has brought charges against the man who threw a catfish on the ice at Game 1. This is, to me, one of the most absurd situations that I have ever heard. I can't imagine anyone, even my guy Patrick Muldowney, who is a social media guru and Pittsburgh native and huge Pittsburgh Penguin fan, being able in any way to defend this decision-making. Again, we will have the catfish thrower live on the air tomorrow. If you are curious to know the catfish thrower's full story, I cannot wait for everybody to be on early in the morning. We will bring you his story. It should be fantastic. I have to say this to the city of Pittsburgh. I don't know. Do we have people right now watching from the city of Pittsburgh? Come forward. Out yourself. If you're in the city of Pittsburgh right now, the Preds may well lose, but in the grand scheme of things, the Preds have already won because they have established themselves. Here come Pittsburgh people in here. They have established themselves as not being pussies. All right? Number one rule of Outkick life is don't be a pussy. Whoever this DA is that okayed charges in this case of a guy throwing a catfish on the ice, he is violating the don't be a pussy Outkick story on a substantial level. He should be ashamed. Don't be fat either. That's another rule from Outkick. But definitely don't be a pussy. I don't know who the DA is, but that person, male or female, deserves to be slapped in the face with a catfish and humiliated for all to see. I don't know what crime Pittsburgh has in the grand scheme of things, but I will say this right now. There have to be many things that can be prosecuted in the city of Pittsburgh well over and above somebody throwing a catfish on the ice. In fact, may I be so crass here, Ben Roethlisberger, a.k.a. Ben Rapisberger, was at the game. And he has so far evaded all criminal charges for any number of questionable acts that he has engaged in over his life. I think maybe that's where the district attorney's office in the city of Pittsburgh should be addressing their attention Look after Ben Roethlisberger, not the man with the catfish in his pants who threw it onto the ice. Any questions from you guys about that game? It was a fantastic game. The Preds gave up a goal. Pekka Rinne was awful. Should have been a win for the Predators, honestly. I thought they outplayed the Penguins, based on my extreme knowledge of hockey. And it's disappointing the Preds didn't win because I would like to see this series go 6 or 7 games. Pat Muldowney hopping in here telling me DBAP and be worried, don't be worried, I believe, about old Ben Roethlisberger stories. Questions that you guys have. Questions that you guys have about the Catfish story. Small Pekka last night indeed. Chicks dig a big Pekka. Small Pekka, big-time performance. Not a big-time performance. 5 out of the 11 shots on goal went for goals. That is not a good percentage. Again, robust hockey mind like me, and there are only 11 taken. Not ideal. Not ideal when it comes to winning a hockey game. Not an ideal performance. Okay, questions. Chances of this going to trial? I don't think it would ever go to trial. I think that there's probably a fine. I'm not an expert, again, on the 3 things that he was charged with, but I will guess that he'll end up paying a fine. Again, we'll have him on at 6:30 Eastern tomorrow on national radio to tell his story and also discuss his being charged with crimes. Any additional? Thank you for coming to watch it live. How did I celebrate Memorial Day? I had a long Memorial Day weekend. I'm still at the beach, still got a fantastic view. In fact, let me go ahead and give you my view and tell you all about my friends at 30A Cottages. Go to 30A Cottages. They'll hook you up. I'm in a 4-story mansion on the beach. This is my view right now. Here is the view. Let me go ahead and show you that. Can you see it? Uh-oh, just got caught in a chair. Beautiful beach right there. Can you guys see it also? Fantastic pool. Nice, beautiful beach today. And I'm headed over for SEC spring meetings. Again, I'm down at the beach. We'll be down here at the beach for 2 weeks. We're continuing to do the radio show. Radio show is live from 5 to 8. I went out to a water park in Panama City Beach, the capital of the Redneck Riviera. I spent the day there, and we had a good time. So, like I said, I've got 3 boys, 9, 6, and 2. Good, nice, long weekend. Knocked out today's show. Get up every day at 4 a.m. like a beast. And now I'm headed over to the Hilton in the Sandestin shopping area for a story about SEC spring meetings to get a couple of those guys on. I think we're going to have either this week or next week. I'll talk to them and see what they want to do. We're going to have Will Muschamp. We're going to have Kevin Sumlin. And we're going to have, I believe, Brett Bielema all on. Try to get the most entertaining SEC football coaches, the guys that I think you'll enjoy talking to the most, the guys that I know are familiar with what we do at Outkick. And so all of that is going to happen. So that should be pretty fun. Those guys will all be on. I'm going to go talk to them as soon as I finish the show here today. Again, my name is Clay Travis. Go to oddshark.com for all your gambling and informational related needs. Tomorrow's show, Dan Wetzel's going to be on. We're going to have on the Catfish guy, and we will have on John Campbell from Oddshark. What will Nashville DAs do if a Penguins fan throws something on the ice? Hopefully not charge. Hopefully not charge anybody for anything that a Penguins fan can throw on the ice. I mean, I think that the DA has to use his discretion and understand that this is a comedic event. This is something done to entertain, not done to make an arena more dangerous, not done to in any way disparage the overall environment of the ice or the game. And so I think it's crazy that Pittsburgh has decided to charge here. That's my personal opinion. SEC spring meetings are at the Hilton Sandestin. They go on there every year. So all of the SEC and basketball coaches. A couple of news right now, SEC-wise. They have announced the first 2 games of the year for the SEC on CBS. We're going to have the TCU at Arkansas game in Week 1 on September 9th. And on September 16th, they are going to have Tennessee against Florida on the road in Gainesville. Bit of news. I believe Outkick is going to open the 2017 college football season in Atlanta for the whole weekend. My plan is to go down to Atlanta on Thursday after the show, do the Friday live show from Atlanta somewhere. We're on in Atlanta daily, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Do the show live in Atlanta on Friday, maybe have an open opportunity for you guys to come by if you're in the Atlanta area. Then on Saturday, I'll go to Bama, Florida State. And then I'll stay in the city of Atlanta, stay in the state of Georgia, and go to Tennessee, Georgia Tech on Monday. So that's my plan for opening weekend of college football. That's as far as I've actually gotten. Yes, Jason Martin, our producer, will drive down and back in the same day and then down and back again. I will stay Thursday night, do the show Friday, be there Saturday for the game between Bama and Florida State, hanging out with all my newfound Bama friends. As my son is now a Bama fan, he'll probably want to go to that game, my 6-year-old. And then we will go to Monday Night Football that week will be Tennessee against Georgia Tech, and I'll do the show in Atlanta again that day, maybe Tuesday as well. So we will be there for multiple days. That should be a lot of fun. So file that away if you're in Atlanta, which is a big market for Outkick, or if you are going to be in Atlanta for those games. Hopefully we'll be able to have some fun events. Will FSU Twitter welcome me? Probably not, although FSU fans have come to like me more and more. So that is my take on the Preds. A little bit of information there for you on college football. Story 2. A lot of big stories out there right now. Bryce Harper. I absolutely loved him charging the mound. Thought it was entertaining as hell. I loved the throw of the helmet. Not sure what he was trying to pull there, but I did love the fact that the pitcher shielded himself from the helmet and then didn't try to shield himself from the punch. Here's my deal, though. I do think it's questionable, highly questionable, that fighting continues to happen in baseball. And everybody says, well, this is an unwritten rule. That's just the way we do it. Here's my thing on fighting in baseball. If you don't want it to happen, then you can end it. That's simple, straightforward. If you don't want it to happen, then you can end it. All Rob Manfred would have to do is follow the exact same template that was implemented by David Stern. David Stern, in the wake of the Malice in the Palace, said we can't have fighting anymore in the NBA, and he instituted such draconian penalties that nobody was willing to fight anymore. In particular, he said if you leave the bench during a brawl or during a shoving match, you get suspended. Now, unfortunately, that rule probably ended up costing the Phoenix Suns the title in the game against the San Antonio Spurs when Robert Horry hip-checked Steve Nash into the scorer's table, and immediately Amari Stoudemire got up and ran onto the field, ran onto the court. Here's the thing. I believe, I'm going to go PC Bromani on you here, I believe that the reason why fighting is allowed in hockey and in baseball is because white dudes do it. I think that if you flip the sports and you made NBA 100%, almost 100% a white sport, that NBA fighting would be allowed. I think that the only distinction you can draw here, straight up, honestly, is that in basketball, there is the concern that fans can get punched. All right? I think that's 100% the concern. That's fair. But I believe that if baseball was a majority black sport, or if hockey was a majority black sport like the NBA is, I don't believe fighting would be allowed. I think that's 100% true. I don't think that's unfair. And my position on this is I don't like fighting in sports. Now, you can call me a pussy. You can say that I'm violating the don't be a pussy rule. I'm fine with fighting in sports when it's integral to the sport itself, right? I'm fine with the UFC. I'm fine with boxing. But I believe that it's a failure of the sport itself when you need fighting to happen to make it more entertaining. For instance, people say, oh, we have to have fighting in hockey. No, you don't. You don't have fighting in the Olympics. You mostly don't have fighting in the playoffs. Fighting in hockey exists to entertain people who are otherwise bored and don't believe the sport is good enough. Baseball keeps saying, oh, we've got to penalize guys, we've got to not allow it. I think it's insane that you have a situation where Bryce Harper is getting thrown at 100 miles an hour and feels like the only way he can protect himself is to charge the pitcher. I think what needs to happen is Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, needs to come down and say this. If you leave the dugout or you leave the bullpen, you will be suspended for 2 weeks without pay, period. That would immediately end the idea of having this meeting on the mound. All right? There's never going to be everybody rushing onto the field again. Okay? Secondly, I would say if you leave your position in the field, if outfielders come into the infield, if infielders come to the pitcher, then you get suspended for 2 weeks as well. What that would immediately do is it would be just like the NHL. They would say, okay, if you want to charge the mound, you're not going to get rescued. It's going to be you against the pitcher until you both end up on the ground, and then we'll break it up just like a hockey fight. And I would also say this. If you throw a punch and charge the mound because you believe you were thrown at, then you get a month suspension without pay. And a pitcher gets a month worth of starts without pay. That would end fighting in baseball overnight. Period. It would. Just like it's basically ended fighting in the NBA. It's not a difficult thing to end. So if you truly want it to end, that's the answer. Now, I don't think that baseball actually wants fighting to end because I think they want the entertainment value. Somebody's saying, so you think this is about race? Yes. In this sense, I believe that if baseball players were if baseball players were black and basketball players were white, that you would still be able to fight in the NBA and that you wouldn't be able to fight in baseball. I think that's true. I don't think it's racist necessarily, but I think race is integral into allowing fighting to occur here. I think that the reason why predominantly white people are not threatened by white people fighting is because they think, oh, that's white people. I know white people who fight. And they do get intimidated by black people. I think it's fascinating that in the NBA, guys who fight are called thugs. In Major League Baseball, we just kind of all laugh it off. Right? I think it's fascinating that that's the way we respond to it. Now, me personally, I don't think that fighting should exist in a sport that doesn't require fighting. I don't like fighting in the NHL. I don't like fighting in baseball. I don't like fighting in football. And I don't like fighting in basketball. Now, I can be entertained by it, but I think if you don't severely punish it, then what you're basically saying is we're okay with it happening. If Bryce Harper gets a 4-game suspension in a 162-game season, it's an insubstantial aspect of his overall season, right? He just gets to rest for 4 days differently than he would rest otherwise. And so I think it's fascinating that that is the play here. And people are upset. People are upset. They say, oh, I don't like this opinion of yours. Well, it's the truth. It's my opinion. Not even going Travis Clay on you. I think that if black guys represented the majority of baseball, if the black guys represented the majority of baseball, it would not be allowed. If white guys represented the majority of the NBA, it would be allowed in the NBA. I think this is entirely a race-based decision. Okay, questions. No, I'm not talking. You're talking like a snowflake. No, look, you come on here because I promise I will give you my unvarnished opinion every single day. I think race is integral to the treatment here. The only argument other than race that you guys can make for me, and I made it this morning on the radio show, is that in basketball, the crowd is in danger of actually getting punched. That's the only other distinction you can make. And we've only really seen that happen once in the history of the NBA. It was Malice in the Palace, where a fan started the fight, Ron Artest runs into the crowd, all those things. In baseball and hockey and NFL, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You don't understand baseball traditions. Let me ask you this. Baseball tradition that you can run over the catcher, right? Buster Posey gets injured as a catcher, and immediately that baseball tradition ends. I think the moment that somebody who's a big-time superstar gets severely injured in this ridiculousness of allowing pitchers to throw at batters and allowing batters to charge the mound, I think it'll happen overnight. And God forbid it's a serious injury. Like if Bryce Harper had gotten hit in the head at 24 years old and he had to spend a substantial amount of time on the disabled list, or he was severely injured enough that he wasn't going to be able to play, I think that would be a severe issue. No, I don't want to see fights in general. If you claim that you don't want fights to happen, then you need to punish in such a way that they don't end up happening. David Stern, to his credit, put his money where his mouth is. He said, 100%, I don't believe that we should have fighting anymore. And then he instituted penalties that were severe enough that he ended it. That's 100% true. And so as a result, that's what happens. All right, questions. People are so angry. People are so angry. How dare you have an opinion I disagree with? How quickly the snowflakes turn when I have an opinion that people don't listen. This is the truth. Go back and listen. I'm making a sound argument. I've made it for years, and that's 100% true. Does Jeff Fisher still want to fight you? Maybe. Pitcher has to protect the inner plate. Look, it has to happen. It's easy to know when guys are throwing and not throwing. If there's a disputed issue of whether or not somebody's throwing or not, then you can check and see what's going on. But most of the time, when we have throwing incidents and we have guys charging the mound, it's self-evident what's going on. 100%. 100% true. All right. Questions. Any additional questions? Any additional questions about this? And some of you are so lazy. You're like, oh, Clay's opposed to the UFC. Clay's opposed to boxing. No, because that is 100% the function of the sport itself. You can't ban fighting in boxing or the UFC, but that's a function of the sport itself. These are ancillary incidents, and you need to block them. All right, questions here. Also, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, evidently, got to give him credit. He took a blood alcohol test. He took he blew into the alcohol tester, which is escaping me right now. He did the test. His blood alcohol level was 0. Blood alcohol level was 0. This is, I think, a scary thing for Tiger Woods because arguably, and I said this on the radio this morning, I think it's easier to understand how somebody gets drunk once or twice and drives than it is to understand that somebody is out on pain pills to such an extent that they pass out of whack completely. Tiger Woods was had such difficulty understanding what the officer was asking for that when he asked him to say the alphabet, Tiger Woods thought he was being asked to say the national anthem backwards. Can you believe that? When he was asked to say the alphabet, Tiger Woods thought he was being asked to say the national anthem backwards. If he could pull that off, if he could say the national anthem backwards, I mean, that's almost more impressive than anything Tiger did on the golf course. Because I guarantee you there's not a single person watching or listening to this right now, and that's tens of thousands of people before all is said and done, that could have ever managed to do that. Pretty extraordinary performance by Tiger Woods to even think that. But this is what's sad. We talked about on the show this morning Tiger Woods and his descent from superstar to the collapse that he's had. And really, when you break it down, I would say this anytime you talk to somebody who's young and in a position of power. There are only 2 ways, if you are an athlete, that you fall apart, right? Only 2 ways that you fall apart historically. One is PEDs. And we ran through a list of guys who had been on PEDs, whether it's Lance Armstrong, whether it is Barry Bonds, whether it is whoever it is, Marion Jones. There's a long list of guys who've gotten busted using PEDs, okay? The challenge here beyond that is, otherwise you might get in trouble with crime, whether it's Aaron Hernandez, whether it is on some level Joe Paterno, whether it is O.J. Simpson. There are lots of athletes that have gotten in trouble with either crimes or performance-enhancing drugs. What's crazy is, to me, Tiger Woods really doesn't fit either that we know of. Now, it's fair, I think, to ask, was Tiger Woods on performance-enhancing drugs? Is it possible that his descent has come because he was so overutilizing performance-enhancing drugs? I think that's certainly possible. I'm not sure that it's probable, but I think it's possible. What's wild about this is how many guys can you even point to? The reason most of the time why you play golf is because you can play it forever, right? And I haven't even talked about that idiot Christine Brennan, who I lit up. If you haven't gone and read my column from this past weekend on Christine Brennan and her calling Fred Funk sexist, you need to go read that. But the reason why you play golf is because so many of us out there can play into our 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Donald Trump is not a very good athlete right now, right? The guy's still able to play golf. Got a Bama fan in the background. The guy's still able to play golf, okay? And as a result, that can be a situation where usually you don't have an injury that's so severe that it limits you to play golf. I don't know that we're ever in a place where you could think about Tiger Woods at the age of 32 years old, 9 years ago almost to the day. At 32 years old, Tiger Woods won against Rocco Mediate at Torrey Pines. And at that point in time, he had 14 majors. And if I had come on with this show, if it were capable to do this show, and I had said the next day, guys, Tiger Woods is never going to win another major, you would have all called me crazy, right? You would have all called that the most insane opinion that I have ever had in the history of my life, and I've had some crazy ones. And as a result of that situation, for the last 9 years, Tiger Woods has fallen apart. And we have never seen anybody, particularly in the world of golf, go off the deep end like we saw Tiger Woods. So I said this morning on the show, I think it would be easier to understand if Tiger Woods got a DUI and less scary on some level than the fact that he passed out from prescription drugs that he is taking, because prescription drugs you take every day. If Tiger Woods is in a position where he is able to be taking these drugs on a day-to-day basis and he's getting behind the wheel and he is passing out there, it's scary. It's scary to think about what he might need on a day-to-day basis to get over the pain that he's under. And again, David Duvall is one. David Duvall is one guy that has been through this situation before, but John Daly's a great example. John Daly is not treated his body well, has not treated his body like a temple, I think it's fair to say. Drank to excess, drugged to excess, woman to excess, ate to excess. Basically, if you can do it, John Daly has done as much wrong to his body as you can possibly do. He just won on the PGA Tour. He's older than Tiger Woods. If John Daly can still win at his age, what happened to Tiger Woods that he has gone off the deep end like this? I think it's a fascinating question. And I don't know the easy answer, but it's a little bit scary to think about. I feel bad for Tiger Woods. If you had told me 9 years ago, at the time I was 29 years old, watching Tiger Woods beat Rocco Mediate in the U.S. Open, if you had told me, you know what, Clay, in 9 years, people are going to think, man, I can't believe Clay Travis is more in control of his life than Tiger Woods is. Tiger Woods has got a lot of money, but his life has fallen all around him. I think it's really tough. And he is, to me, a guy who is worthy of our sympathy, and I never would have believed that it was ever possible that we would ever end up in this situation. I think that's true. I mean, I think it's unbelievable. And it's not really fair to say that Elin kind of set him off on this path, because remember, Tiger Woods did get crushed over that whole situation. And I think that was a strange situation in and of himself, right? I thought it was a very strange situation. His dad dying certainly didn't help. But to me, what really kind of set Tiger Woods off in this ridiculous situation that he's in now was not just Elin kind of running off on him. It was his body breaking down. And if you had told me at the time that he was going to be at the apex, one of the things about golf that usually is the case is that when you reach an apex, you usually don't immediately plummet. David Duvall is one who did it, but by and large, Tiger Woods just drove right off a cliff. And I never would have seen it coming, and I think it's one of the most remarkable things we've ever seen in the history of sports. Again, most guys who collapse do it because of PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, or crime. Tiger Woods wasn't either that we're able to know for sure. So that was a strange situation. I feel bad for Tiger Woods. I never thought I would feel sympathy for Tiger Woods, but I certainly do. And yeah, I think there's probably a decent situation that Tiger's on post-surgery painkillers and has gotten addicted to them. I do think there's a decent chance of that, just like a lot of other athletes have. The guy's back is so bad he can barely stand up. It's scary. It's scary to think about. Okay, any additional questions about Tiger? Any additional questions about Bryce Harper? Any questions about the Preds? We're going to take a quick break here. I want to see how this works on Facebook. Let's see what happens. I am going to let you guys see this ad. Let me know how it works for you on Facebook. It's going through the ad break. There's a lot of talent down here. The 30A is the MILF capital of America. There's no doubt at all. Yeah, he certainly should be personally accountable. But also, if he's addicted to drugs, it's not Tiger Woods' fault that he has managed to fall off the face of the earth like this. Again, I feel empathy for Tiger Woods. I feel bad for him. I am down on the beach. Go check out 30A Cottages. Why stay in a crappy condo or a crappy motel when you can stay in a mansion like me? 30acottages.com, 30 with an A, cottages.com. You can get hooked up, and you will be glad that you did it. So many Animal Thunderdome stories. We had some amazing ones. A great white shark jumped into a boat of a guy who was fishing in Australia. We had a tiger kill a woman. Rest in peace, woman killed by tiger. Rough weekend for tigers. Woman killed by a tiger in just north of London. It was an unbelievable weekend for the Animal Thunderdome, to be sure. Share this show if you enjoy it. My guy Patrick Muldowney, even though he's a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, always encouraging you guys to share the show. Share the show on Facebook. Share the show on Twitter. Few more questions, and I will be able to dive out here, and I'll go get those interviews done for the show. I cannot wait for college football season to start soon enough. No, it cannot get here fast enough. Why would a drunk person ever agree to a breathalyzer? You shouldn't. The fact that Tiger Woods took a breathalyzer to me is evidence that he wasn't drunk. And again, I use that as evidence. TMZ had this story wrong. They said Tiger Woods refused a breathalyzer. I said on the show this morning, you never turn down a breathalyzer if you are sober. So I said I didn't think that Tiger was sober. Now the details have come out about that. Again, big time weekend. I will be Will Greer, interesting Heisman sleeper at West Virginia. I like I've already bet. I told you guys to take Sam Darnold. I also like Auburn's quarterback situation. I like their transfer in from Baylor, who I took at 66-1 just a couple of months ago to win the Heisman Trophy. I think that he is going to be outstanding. Again, tomorrow on the show we'll have the Catfish thrower. That's where we started everything, and I think it should be a fantastic show. Yes, Jarrett Stidham is the guy that I like as a dark horse. I think that Gus Malzahn is going to be very good with him there. I talked about Chip Kelly last weekend, and I do believe, again, that Chip Kelly is going to be the next head coach at the University of Tennessee. NBA Finals prediction, yes. 5 games. Warriors, Cavs, Warriors. Warriors in 5. I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Warriors are going to dominate the Cavs. I don't think the Cavs have the wheels to keep up with them. It's going to be 5 games. Warriors win the first 2, lose 1, win the next 2. Warriors in 5. Alabama versus FSU. Don't bet against Nick Saban with months to prepare. I think that Alabama will win by 10 points. All right. I love all of you guys. You're fantastic. Share the show. Outkick the Show, presented by OddsShark. Go to OddsShark for all your gambling and informational related needs. DBAP. Don't forget DBAP, everybody. I love all of you. I will be live tomorrow morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 5 to 8, 4 to 7 Mountain, 3 to 6 Western time. If I'm getting up that early, you can get up that early as well, too. Kisses to everyone. DBAP, hashtag DBAP. I'm off to go see all the SEC coaches. I will see you guys.